Hey everyone, it's Lee at MyProductiveMac here, and today I'm going to show you how to create new items within DEVONthink. Now, this isn't importing existing files from elsewhere on your Mac. That's going to be in the next video. This is simply creating new files, notes, and clipping content in from a web browser. Now, I want to start by just quickly showing you these inboxes here. Now, I have 3 databases, as you can see, and if I expand this inboxes section, you'll see we have 4 inboxes, so one for each of the databases, and then one at the top that's referred to as the global inbox. And whenever any content comes into DEVONthink, this is where it's going to land unless you specify otherwise. Now, when it comes to creating content, DEVONthink works on the basis that whichever group you've selected, that's where the content is going to go. So if I select the inbox here for my demo stuff database, then right click over here in the files area, select new and plain text, give it a name. I've now created a plain text document in the My Demo Stuff inbox. And down here in the viewer for the file, I can edit inline. Nice and easy. Now that means that if I want to create a file in the random files group, sitting in the My Demo Stuff database here, I can go into it. I can see the path where I am just here. Then right click, new plain text again, and the file's placed in there instead. So 2 files created there, 2 completely different locations. And just to point out, we've got some great smart groups created by default when you run DEVONthink. And we cover smart groups in a later video. But this top one here will just show you files that you've created or added to DEVONthink today, no matter where they are. And if I click one, over here in the information inspector, I can see the location. So this one's sitting in the inbox. And this second file here, well, that's sitting in the random files group. Okay, easy so far. Let's go back across to the group and see what other files we can create natively within DEVONthink. Now, you don't have to right click in the files area to create a file. You can come up to data here and get into your new files that way. So with clipboard first, this is going to create a new file based on the contents of the most recent item on your clipboard. So I don't have anything yet in there, but let's just come down here, pop in some text, or highlight it and copy. Then come up to data, new, and I could have pressed Command N as well to create the new file, but I'll click and our file is there. And if I select it, its title is the copied text and it's in the body of the file as well. Now the next file type that we can create is a rich text file. And these are the main notes that I generally use in DEVONthink daily alongside Markdown notes as well. They differ from a plain text file, of course, because you can format them. And to do that, just enable the formatting toolbar here. And you've got a host of formatting options along the top. It's just the standard stuff really that you'd find in any word processing app. There's nothing groundbreaking, but it's useful to have it at your fingertips in DEVONthink for sure. Then the next file that you can create is a formatted note, which on the face of it looks very similar to a rich text document because it has a formatting toolbar as well. And it works pretty much the same way. However, there are a couple of key differences. Firstly, you don't have as many formatting options. If you look at the length of the toolbar here, then switch up to the rich text one, you can see there's more options available in this one here. Now, secondly, DEVONthink will save the formatted note in HTML format, meaning you can view it in a web browser. And to show how that works, I've got the formatted note on the left and a Safari browser session on the right. If I take that note and drag it across into Safari, we can see it rendered there and it looks exactly as it should do. Whereas, of course, if I try and do that with a rich text file, it fails. Another file that we can create in DEVONthink is a Markdown note. And I am going to be creating some content in the future on how to work with Markdown. But in essence, it's a lightweight markup language that you can use to add formatting to a plain text document. Now, it's quick and easy to use. So I can bold a statement by putting in 2 asterisks before and after the text. Then this here is the format for applying a link to some text. And of course, the more Markdown that you apply, the more you may think to yourself, did that actually work? Have I missed a character anywhere? Well, in this Markdown editor, you can click here to see a preview of how the document will look once it's been rendered. This button here to the right is just where we were. It's the source view. And then on the far right, we've got a split view, which has the source on the left and then the output on the right. The next file type that you can create is an HTML page. So very similar here to the Markdown one in that you've got a preview, source, and split view section. Now I've got some HTML code on my clipboard, so I'll switch to the source view and paste that in. Then come across to preview and I can see how that will look. And this means, of course, that if I actually delete all of the content in the source view here and then come over to preview and type in some text that's formatted the way I'd like to eventually see it, coming across to source will transpose it and I can see how the code needs to be. And then, of course, split view on the far right will show both. Now, the final base file type, as it were, is a sheet. Now, this is not to be confused with a spreadsheet because this sheet will not do any calculations or any math at all. It's much more like a database of records. So I'll just give this column a name. Then if you click the drop down over here, you can change the type of data that will be in that column. This will be a date, and then a further drop down appears, allowing me to switch it up further. And to add a column, click plus and give that a name. There's a cog here which will allow you to add, remove, rename, and duplicate columns. And when you've got what you want, just click OK. Then the sheet is in, and you can add in your values there. Now, it's not something that I've ever really used in DEVONthink. It's useful to know that it's there, but this is something I've always used a third-party application for, and I don't think that's going to change. Now, you can add bookmarks, and not just bookmarks for web pages, but anywhere on your Mac that utilizes a URL scheme. I'll just add one here to my site to show the premise of how this works and give it a name. And this is really useful because DEVONthink, of course, has a good built-in web browser, meaning you don't need to leave your DEVONthink session to navigate your research sites. And then finally here, if you like pulling in research materials from RSS feeds, then you can add those in here as well. Just type in the URL that's going to point to the feed location, click add, and after a short pause, the feed will load in. And if I expand this up here, I can see the items and then read them at my leisure. Let's take a look at the sorter now because we can create new things easily from our menu bar. If I click on it, first of all, on the far left, I can get all of my DEVONthink content here. I can click on it and it will take me straight there within the main DEVONthink window. Then if I come back into the sorter, you can click this button to take a note and just give it a name. Then populate the body with some text. And below that, you've got options for giving the note a label, star rating, adding tags. And you can also specify what kind of note this is. And then finally, where you'd like to put it. So I think I'll put this in the inbox for my demo stuff. And click add. Then if I come across here, I can find it. And because this inboxes view here shows all of my inboxes collaborate together until I expand it, I can see the study note sitting in there. To the right of that, we have the voice note. So if I click to start it, this is just a standard voice note. And below you can determine again where that is going to go. So I'll keep it in the location we have on screen and click add. Now if you open it, you can see it opens it in a separate floating window with some simple playback controls there. Okay, back into the sorter, and to the right of the voice note, we have a video note. And here we can see, obviously, my image here. If I click the drop down, then you can change the camera that is going to be used to capture the video, as well as the microphone interface that you need to use there. Then just click record, do a bit of talking and looking generally uncomfortable, and then click stop. Again, you can choose exactly where your location is going to be, and then click add when you're finished. Moving across now to the capture section. And here you can grab screenshots in 3 different ways. So we've got the whole screen, we've got an application window, and you can see the cursor has changed to a camera. And I can hover over the app, click, then add. Then if I click selection, I can choose a freeform selection from the screen easily. And then add this. And finally, over on the far right, we have the ability to add web content. So you can add directly from the currently open Safari tab, a URL that you've got on your clipboard, or manually add in a web page, but that's not the easiest way to get web content into DEVONthink. No, the easiest way is to capture using the built-in web clipping tool for Safari, although you can download one for Chrome and Firefox as well. Now it's already active, it's sitting up here in my toolbar, and to enable it, just go into the preferences for Safari, make sure you're in the extension section, and that the clip to DEVONthink extension is checked here. Now when you click it, our sorter opens at the right place. The name of the site is there, the URL, but what we want to concentrate on is the format. Now you can capture it as a PDF, you can have it as a bookmark or a archive. Now these are the main options that you're going to use. So I think I'm going to select a web archive here. And if I click the clutter-free option, What that does, it removes some of the ads and some of the content that I don't necessarily want to see, and it allows me to concentrate more on reading the content that's there. I'll click Add, then go to my inbox. Just waiting for it to be added, and there it is. Now I'll click. And you can see already with that clutter-free box checked, it's rendered the page differently, focusing more on reading. But I've got an archive of this page here. It looks nice. The next one on DEVONthink is going to look at importing files on macOS, indexing them, and getting stuff in from a scanner as well. And if you want to see more like that, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.